Out this week, it's King's Quest, the first chapter in the new episodic series by The Odd Gentleman and Sierra. Joining me on the couch, Mary Kish and Jeremy Jane, two questers of kings. You guys have played that game?
Yes.
Have you done the whole first episode almost?
We're both really close. Well, Mary, I haven't beaten it. I'm close.
We're about like 3/4 the way. It's actually longer than I thought it would be, which I'm pleasantly surprised considering that this is an episodic adventure. We were wondering how long they would be, a couple hours, but it's about a good 5-hour playthrough, I would say, for the first chapter. Give or take, and that's a great amount of time for the price point that they're selling them for.
It's $10, and it's way longer than I thought. Like I was talking to Mary yesterday when I was playing it for the first time, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm like almost done. And then she went home and played it, and was like, oh, you're like at the beginning of the end.
Oh no, Jeremy. So $10 a pop, or $40 for the season pass of 5. Pretty standard adventure, sort of Telltale-esque pricing model. We're going to talk about your guys' experience with the game. We're going to soft pedal it on the spoilers. Obviously, you haven't finished it, and we know that a lot of you guys are going to be wanting to check it out too. So it's going to be pretty spoiler-free, but want to talk about like how you're feeling about it so far. Our review is coming this week, but from you guys, two people who have played it, you have different history with the King's Quest series. Mary, what's your perspective on this one?
Right, we were talking about this. Jeremy's fresh to the series, and I've played several King's Quests. It's actually one of the very first games my father ever bought for me on PC was King's Quest 7. And it was just this wonderful, magical point-and-click adventure, and I have a lot of wonderful memories attributed to the King's Quest series. This is like one of the best parts. There's like a mom and a daughter, and they're both looking for each other, and this is so standard. You're going to see a lot of things that you'll actually see in the current King's Quest kind of resurface. The same humor, character-driven story. You'll see a lot of items. It's really amazing how many items you get, and similar in the new one, there's about 5 different puzzles going on at once here. So it's not linear in this direct sense where you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing next.
You get the thing, you use the thing, you get another thing, you use that thing. That's not how it goes.
No, a lot of times you're not really sure exactly what you're getting all these items for, and they're not to be used for much later. So in this one, this is the kind of puzzle where you needed to find an item so that you could get through that pathway. And this King's Quest does a very similar thing where you actually can't get to the next area until you've found a very particular item, something that they tease to you, and the game does an excellent way of giving you a lot of clues. So there's more than enough hints along the way, so you're like, oh, I'm supposed to use this to get through that bush like that I saw a long time ago so that I can get to a well. It's all very well done in the storyline. There was almost no time in this playthrough so far where I've been like, well, I don't know where to go.
By the other side of that coin, of course, is have there been times when it's been just so obvious at every turn that you know where to go that you're kind of like, well, let me figure something out here. Stop giving me so much information.
Honestly, it's a pretty easy game. Like I feel like it's like family friendly. I don't think kids would play it and figure it out or anything, but I think like a younger kid with their parent alongside would not have too much of a difficult time playing through. But, the other side of the coin is, there were definitely times where I was like, oh, whoa, this puzzle is like deceivingly difficult. Like there were times where it got a little more complex on me than I thought it was going to. And that's one of the things I like most about King's Quest. And again, for people who missed that, I haven't played any of the King's Quest games. I'm familiar with them. I've seen them played. I've never played any of them. But this particular one, the new one, had this thing going on where it was sort of like, it would be very like Disney-esque and family-friendly, and the animation is all like hand-painted environments and stuff. It reminded me of Ni no Kuni a lot visually, but behind it, it's not a kid's game. Like there were things going on, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there are characters who die unexpectedly, and I was like, oh my god! And I was like there was an emotional toll taken by this death, and I was like, if I was like a 5-year-old kid, I think this would be devastating.
It'd be a little upsetting.
Yeah, but it does have that fantastical sort of Disney quality to it, and it is very like just like magical and like fantasy driven, but it gets down to business. There's some real stuff going on.
It's interesting because the whole conceit is that you're playing out these memories of the king. He's telling this to his granddaughter, and so like right from the beginning, it does sort of set up that family dynamic, the dynamic of Papa Kish and Mary Kish like sitting down and checking out King's Quest 7.
King Kish.
It makes you feel the feels. There's times where, and the acting is just incredibly so much better. For the record, for any other King's Quest game, you'd be like, the writing's pretty good. Like the acting questionable, but I'm gonna let it slide. This one is really good.
It's come a long way.
It's Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future is King Graham, old King Graham.
But they have a lot of the same, like this, and these are like these ridiculously silly characters. They do a really good job. they're paying homage to like old comedy series. You'll definitely see pieces of like the Knights of Nymph in here, and all sorts of really cool, witty banter from characters that I don't even know if they have any value later on. But that's something that they're known for, is that you'll hear a story that might have nothing to do with anything, but it's entertaining and it's enjoyable to hear. I've had such a great time so far, and I really, really have liked this game.
And so you've been sort of queued up to expect a certain degree of that whimsy, right? Of that sort of being punny, of it referencing, fantasy tropes, and like it's almost, there's a lot of winks to, you're also acknowledging that there's a player playing the game, Jeremy, I'm wondering how that struck you, like, in terms of sort of the overall tone, balancing humor with, more sort of dramatic moments.
So there's a lot of good sort of like meta humor, like you say, it acknowledges that you're playing a game. And so, for example, there's one thing where there's like 2 levers and you have to pick one. And there's no indication of which one you should pick. There's no like hints or anything. It's just 50-50 chance. And so the first time I tried it and I got it wrong, and I won't spoil anything, but something unfortunate happens to the player. And
actually, they show it in the trailer. So
this is like the first decision you make. And also, let me just say, there's a skeleton crushed by a thing next to the one that crushes you.
Is there? Then I'm extremely unobservant. I was doing a speed run, Chris. Just King's Quest done quick. But anyway, other than that glaringly obvious hint that I missed, you are crushed, and it cuts back to old King Graham and Gwendolyn, and he goes, and that's what would have happened if I pulled the left switch.
But I'm here, so obviously I
clearly
did
that's not what happened.
Switch.
So every time you die in the game, it'll like create some sort of like elaborate narrative loophole, and it's like, oh, but that's not what happened. My favorite one of those is you get a hatchet at some point, and in an adventure game like this, you're point and click, you're like trying the hatchet.
Let me just
can I cut this? Can I cut this? Can I cut this?
And you're putting on people and anything you can.
And that's the best part is like, so I tried it on one of the other nights, and you see Graham like wind up with it, and Gwendolyn's like, and you cut him, and Graham is like, oh no, I didn't do that at all. Like I couldn't use the hatchet there. That would have been wrong. But it's like it plays off of the fact that like on point and clicks you're trying to use everything on everything, and it definitely doesn't have an abundance of like it's clear enough without giving it away that you never feel like you're like, oh, I guess I'll just walk around hatcheting everything until I figure this out.
All right, well, this is episode 1, right? And so, it's sort of, it has the task of not just introducing you to what kind of game they want to be, immersing you in the style and introducing characters, but also of like setting a sort of arc or hinting at what's to come. And you guys had not quite made it to the end, and we want to keep it vague, but like, do you feel so far that this is sort of a good kickoff for the series?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy with what I've seen so far. I expect that a lot of these items will come back in the future. Previous King's Quests, if you saw a character that you loved and maybe you left them and they were angry with you or something like that, that could end up coming back 4 chapters from now and impacting you. It's interesting where you have no idea yet. It's very early on. I'm not really sure. They're setting up a lot of this live action story right here too with this girl and her grandfather. So you're not really sure exactly where all these characters in the story arc is going to go yet. But I already have anticipated recurring characters, things that will probably come back, and I'm really just excited to see what's coming. But it's a little too soon to make that call.
Yeah, there are a lot of choices you make, and I'm very hopeful that the future chapters will harken back to that a lot. Like, I hope that, because some of the choices are clearly just like, it'll change the story a little bit, but it won't impact like that rippling change of like, oh, you killed that dude? Well, guess what? You can't do this whole thing now.
It's not like a Life is Strange or any of those other, as far as I'm aware, where if you make a decision, Alexa was telling me that if you make a decision in Life is Strange episode like 2, you actually just miss a whole section in episode 3. And this doesn't seem the same thing. So Jeremy and I on purpose chose different things to see what the impact would be. And there's this part where you have to like find a wheel. I found one from one shop and he found it from another. It made zero difference. It was just a choice.
Came back together.
Right. But I really do hope that some of those choices do have more rippling
There's
change,
another
like the
one
larger decisions.
with the dragon later where we both chose different things and it did have a different impact. So at that stage, I'm not entirely sure if later down the road, if you take down the dragon or if you help him, like how
the dragon on the loose now
will
or something.
Will the dragon help me? So those are things that we just don't know yet. But it's exciting to see how far they're going to take that.
Will the dragon remember that in the parlance of
God, I
Telltale
hope
Games?
so.
I hope he does.
All right, Mary, Jeremy, thanks for coming on, talking about King's Quest,
course.
A Night to Remember.
It is.
That's it?
It is, and it's recommended. I do recommend it for as much as I've
Thumbs up.
played it. I think
It's
it's
super
a great
value
game.
for $10. Insane.
We don't have a review on the site yet. I do know it's like really soon. It's already in and it's like up for Q&A, so it should be here really soon. But until then, Mary Kish recommends it, and Jeremy. Jeremy and I recommend it. It's really cool and it's fun, delightful.
Very cool. Our King's Quest review will be up shortly. It's out now on Steam and consoles. Consoles. It's coming to consoles. It's maybe not out on consoles now. I should have done my research.
I think it's on PlayStation, but not Xbox yet. I might be wrong.
It's
I might have that
actually it is
switched.
on consoles. So the Xbox 100% and PS4 code didn't work, but I think it is going to be working today.
Yeah.
So
Cool. King's Quest, A Night to Remember.